What's up guys, it's me Jeremy. So the standard rotation is actually coming up pretty soon, which means that a lot of cards that we're playing with are going to be rotating out. So the Black Rock Mountain, the Grand Tournament, and League of Explorers are all set up to leave standard. So with a lot of cards rotating out and the design space of the game getting smaller and smaller as more new cards come out, it's definitely time that Blizzard should potentially start considering reprinting some cards. Now while reprints do potentially take away from more new cards in the set, having some awesome cards from the past be revived in standard once again could be really cool and pretty awesome for the game overall, and a handful of reprints per set definitely couldn't hurt. So today let's take a look at some of the cards from past sets that would be awesome to see reprinted in the future. So first up on the list we have, of course, Reno Jackson. Now, although some people potentially might be starting to get a little bit sick of Reno, and maybe some people have been sick of him since he came out, Reno really created and inspired this such a cool and diverse way of deck building in a bunch of different classes. It's really awesome that Blizzard created an effect that encourages worse and less consistent deck building, since you're only playing one-ofs, but made the payoff on the card itself so strong that it was really just worth it overall. And clearly Blizzard themselves also likes the Reno type of effects, since they of course printed Kazakus, Raza, and Inkmaster Solia. But it's a little bit unclear whether these cards are strong enough by themselves to make people still want to play Reno style decks once Reno rotates out. And that's actually kind of a shame, because all three of those cards are really strong and just super interesting and just so cool to play with. And that's why it would be really awesome to see Reno come back and potentially get a reprint in the future so that he can hopefully remain in the standard rotation. Next up, we're talking about a card that's probably one of my favorites, and it's Echo of Medivh. So Echo is actually a really sweet card because it enables such a variety of just really cool and interesting decks. You know, you've got the Molten Giant Echo Mage deck back in the day, or Reynad's Flood Mage deck, and it's just such a really cool and unique card that can be used in, you know, so many different awesome ways, and enables combos and all sorts of stuff that no other cards in the game really let you do, to the point where entire decks and archetypes were designed around the card by itself. So it's honestly kind of a shame that Echo rotated out of standard so fast, because it is really super unique and interesting, and definitely will have some really cool interactions with cards released in the future without actually being too overpowered or game breaking. It really feels like the card never got to explore its full potential, so I personally would definitely want to see it reprinted at some point in the future, hopefully in a set with some other cards that have some cool interactions with it. And moving on, we have Gang Up. Now, Gang Up is pretty similar to Echo of Medivh, where it's just this really cool and unique and interesting effect that designs entire decks and archetypes without actually being, you know, super broken or overpowered. You know, people have done some really crazy things with Gang Up so far, whether it's, you know, using it in Mill Rogue to make a ton of Cold Light Oracles, or maybe making a bunch of Arcane Giants that all cost 0 mana, making a bunch of patches to get pulled out when you play a pirate, and a ton of other stuff. You know, again, this is just a card that has so many cool interactions with all sorts of stuff, and a lot of things that Blizzard could end up printing in the future too. So it's definitely something that I would love to see stay in the game. Not to mention that Gang Up has never really been, you know, super broken or, you know, meta defining or frustrating to play against. It's just a really cool and arguably a really healthy card for the format overall. Up next, we have Astral Communion. Now, Astral's another one of the cards that really just never reached its full potential, and people definitely played a lot of Astro combo decks, and, you know, a lot of famous players like Taj and a bunch of people on stream took the decks to even high legend. But the thing is that any deck that needs to combo off that early to be actually good is pretty much always just going to be pretty inconsistent. Still though, having that super explosive combo deck that only works like a fraction of the time isn't necessarily all that bad for the game, and it was a really fun deck that created some crazy highlights and some awesome combo videos and stuff. You know, the essential idea of the deck will never really change either. You know, you kind of just want to innovate that early Astral Communion, and then maybe draw some cards and play some awesome legendaries. The only tools that will maybe change are going to be the big legendaries you play with and the card draw cards, and as such it would be pretty awesome to see what Astral Druid could maybe do with some of the newer things that end up coming out in the future. And last but not least, we have Justicar Trueheart. Now, Justicar has been a pretty awesome card, and it's something that I would expect a lot of people would maybe want to see this card stay in the format or come back at some point, and Justicar didn't necessarily get to see its full potential, really, since it only ever got played in 3 classes and really just only in Control Warrior. And sure, that's probably because those were the classes it was best in and had the best effect, but knowing how drastically the meta can really change and how many new cards we have coming in and old cards leaving, we could definitely see Justicar potentially getting to see some play in classes that it hasn't before. And that's super exciting because we would get to see some new effects and interactions from an old card, which is pretty much the whole point of reprints, and Justicar is definitely going to be a keystone for this list for sure. Either way though, those are some of the cards that we felt should definitely get some reprints in the future, or at least cards that we would like to see get reprints in the future. What cards would you maybe like to see get reprints and be able to play with again in the standard format? Definitely let us know in the comment section below, and it looks like that's going to be it from me. If you guys enjoyed the video, drop a like, subscribe if you want. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.